to the show. Let me just say, this audience is looking fresh today. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for this energy. I'm so excited. Well, I know we all have our favorite takeout foods, and it's obviously super convenient. I've been someone who, like, you know, you go on the app, you call somebody. Remember when you had to call someone to get takeout? I just aged myself a little bit. So you go on the app, you order your thing, very convenient, super tasty. But all this week, I wanted to show you how easy it is to make a few of those classic takeouts at home that might save you a bit of time and will definitely save you a few bucks. This is my take on takeout. Super excited because today we are going to start off with something that I absolutely love. My family and I have always loved ordering Indian food for takeout. It's so delicious, there's so much flavor, and it's saucy and wonderful. So today I wanted to start with a classic, and that is butter chicken. But as opposed to doing like a classic butter chicken, we're going to lighten it up, make it a little bit more springy, summery, and use coconut milk in place of cream. Because fun fact, I know, that butter chicken that you like so much, one of the reasons you love it so much is full of cream. It's so good. But we're gonna swap that out with coconut milk. It's really, really tasty. But to get started on that butter chicken, or that coconut butter chicken, we gotta talk about chicken. So I have got about 3 or 4 chicken breasts here that I diced up, and I've seared off in about 2 tablespoons of butter or ghee. Now, ghee is just clarified butter. You can get it at the grocery store. It usually comes in like a tub, in like the section where you could find sometimes spices, sometimes kind of near where you find like shortening and things like that. It has a higher smoke point than butter. But since we're just searing this chicken over about medium heat, you don't have to go for that. I do like using butter though, or ghee, because it gives you that nice buttery flavor. So I've just seared that just until golden brown, not cooked all the way through. And now I'm moving on with some onions. So in this pan, I have got 2 onions that are cooking down. 2 just classic yellow onions. Any residual amount of that fat and any of that chicken schmaltz that's come out of that chicken is gonna cook those onions down beautifully. I season those up with a little bit of salt and pepper, and those have been cooking down for about 5 minutes, just until a little golden brown and tender. So now I'm gonna start building even more flavor. So in our house, we like a little bit of heat, something a little bit spicy. So I'm gonna toss in a whole chopped up jalapeno. Now, if you can find, I know, right? If you don't like spicy, feel free to go with less. You can use half, you could use a quarter, you could use a serrano chili, usually a little bit spicier. But we're going big because I like it spicy, and so does my family. So add that right on in. That jalapeno adds a really nice kind of floral spice to it. It's bright, it's green tasting, and it's gonna be wonderful. Now, in addition to that, I'm also adding in an ingredient that you might not know goes into a lot of kind of like creamy Indian sauces, and that is some sort of nut. We're gonna use cashews today. So this is about a 1/4 cup of chopped up cashews. Now, you can chop them up a little rougher than this if you want to, but we really finely ground these babies up. You know when you get like a bag of cashews or nuts and at the bottom is all the like crummies? This is what you use it for. Now, I'm gonna add those in, and those need to toast up for just a little bit. Those nuts add a beautiful layer of richness, of creaminess. If you wanted to, you could swap them out with almonds. But again, I really like the cashews in here. They give real nice kind of butteriness. And I just want that to toast off for just about, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes, just to get those nuts toasted and that chili cooked down. So while that starts doing its thing, let's talk about some spices. Now, for this dish, there's a good amount of spices going into here. If you have a well-stocked pantry, you're gonna be good to go. A lot of these are things that I use in a lot of different things, from baking to cooking. But the first thing I'm gonna start off with is cardamom. So this is green cardamom, and we've got it in the pods here. You can usually buy it ground as well, but I really like using the whole pods for cardamom because it has a really nice kind of lemony, almost sweet flavor. They're really tasty. This tastes like, if you've ever had like those Swedish cinnamon buns, there's a bit of cardamom in there. It sounds strange that we're gonna put it in something savory, but it works. The only trick with cardamom is you don't wanna eat that pod. That's really fibrous. So grab your knife, and you just wanna press down until it cracks, and then out come these little weird looking seeds that don't look super appetizing, but boy, oh man, they are delicious. I was gonna say boy, oh geez, but I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people made fun of me last week when I said it. And by made fun, I mean poke fun. Jordan, all day. Jordan's our audience coordinator. Boy, oh geez. Yeah. All right. So just crack those. This fresh, delicious whole seed is going to give a ton of flavor. If you only had powdered at home, that's totally fine. I'd use about 1/4 of a teaspoon, maybe 1/2 of a teaspoon, but just get as many out as possible. Now, typically when you're making any sort of food that has a good amount of spice in it, most people will tell you to use whole spices all the way. But to be honest, I'm only using 2 different whole spices, things that I already have on hand, because I find, I'm gonna be realistic. I'm not gonna get out my spice grinder and grind a bunch of stuff up. That's just not gonna happen on a regular Monday night. So we're gonna use some ground up spices as well. But I'm gonna pop these right on into the pan. And those need to toast up along with the rest of the spices. So into there, I'm gonna add in 1½ teaspoons of coriander seed. Now, coriander seed, also really nice and lemony. It's actually the seed that cilantro grows from. Now, it doesn't taste like cilantro, so if you don't like cilantro, you might still like coriander seed. But I'm gonna add about 1.5 teaspoons of that right on in. Give that a little bit of a stir. And I just want that to start toasting. Now I'm also gonna toss in about 3 cloves of garlic that I've minced up. Already this is smelling so good, that little bit of heat in there. I'm hearing like little mms every time. Very, very happy. Now I also love adding in some ginger. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of grated ginger here, but I'm not gonna lie, anytime a recipe, even my own recipe, calls for like 2 tablespoons of ginger, I wanna add more. So I'm gonna go get my ginger from the freezer. We're going a little off book here, but that's okay. This is my kitchen. In your kitchen, you can do what you would like. But I always store my ginger in the freezer. It makes it really easy to pop into recipes. It makes it so it really never goes bad. All you need to do is grab your grater and just grate it right on into the pan you're working with. You don't even need to peel it because it kind of breaks down the outside. You can give it a bit of a scrub when you get it home, dry it off, pop it in the freezer, and you're good to go. But that extra hit of ginger is just gonna be a total dream. So give that a stir. And then for even more spice action, I wanna add in about 1 teaspoon of turmeric. That's gonna give this butter chicken that classic, almost orangey, beautiful color. So that's gonna go on as well. And then I'm gonna add in a spice blend known as garam masala. And garam masala is a classic Indian spice blend. It's really, really tasty. If you are someone who isn't gonna make this a ton and maybe doesn't want all these spices in their pantry, feel free to go to a bulk food store. That's like my favorite place to buy my spices because you know there's lots of turnover, so it stays nice and fresh, and you can buy exactly what you need and not end up with like bags of, what is this? Why do I have this, you know? Now I'm also gonna add in about 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. And then finally, 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. That chili powder is gonna bring a bit of roundness, a little bit of smokiness into there. Give that oh my gosh, that smells delicious already. The garam masala, what a delight that is. Now I am toasting this because I don't know if you're like me, but my spice cupboard, I pretend, sure I replenish it every 3 months. I don't, that's a lie. Some of them have been in there for years. But those spices are still gonna have flavor. They're just gonna be a little bit muted. So if you toast them, that's gonna bring them back to life. It's gonna toast the oils and all those flavors in those spices. But as you see, as you stir it, a lot of those spices start sticking to the bottom of the pan. That's okay though, because we're gonna deglaze in just a minute. But typically with butter chicken or any sort of Indian cooking in general, things are really low and slow cooked. And to get that flavor in a flash, I like using tomato paste. Butter chicken is a tomato-based sauce, but as opposed to using fresh tomatoes and cooking them down, 1 whole can of tomato paste does the trick, and it gives you that low and slow cooked down flavor in like, as long as it takes for you to struggle with your can opener. And this is when I open a can of tomato paste, my cat is livid. He thinks it's a tuna can, it's not, and he's like, what is this? I don't want that. So give that a good stir in. That is all gonna bring everything together. And again, that tomato paste is kind of sticking on the bottom. So I'm gonna deglaze this pan with about 1/2 cup of water. That's just gonna lift everything. If you wanted to use something other than water, go for it, but we've got so much flavor going on in here. So that's gonna be perfect. Right now, this color is a really deep kind of orangey red, and it looks totally delicious. But I'm gonna lighten this up. This is where you would add in your cream, or in our case, a can of coconut milk. So I've got a can of coconut milk here, and you wanna give it a good shake before you open this up. Again, this whole recipe my cat hates, because he thinks we're having tuna, and we're not. So I'm gonna add that coconut milk in. Any of those kind of clumps is just beautiful coconut fat that brings so much flavor in. And speaking of the fat, try not, if you can, to buy the light coconut milk. To be honest, that just tastes like weird coconut water, and that's not what I'm looking for. We want creaminess. So give that a mix together. Do you see that color immediately change into kind of like butter chicken? That looks so good. Now into there, I'm gonna add a little bit of sweetness, just in the form of about a tablespoon of brown sugar. That brings in some molasses flavor. And then, wait, I gotta put on the Mary Berg apron. Let's see. We're gonna blitz this. If you want, you can use a classic blender, that would work, but I'm gonna do an immersion blender. Does no one else do this at home? Honestly, it works really well. So an immersion blender is great. You don't, I feel really cool when I do this too. An immersion blender is great because you don't have to dirty up another kind of device, but you do you. Blitz this up until it is nice and smooth. This is gonna look absolutely beautiful. Once this is blitzed, I'm gonna add that chicken back on in, let it simmer for about 10 to 15. So we've got that bubbling away, doing its thing. That chicken is almost perfectly cooked. I've got a lid on it because it does get a little bit splashy, but I'm gonna make a really quick kind of sauce condiment to go with everything if you're feeling it. This is a raita, and a raita is essentially like a yogurt and cucumber sauce. It's really cooling, so if you did make that nice and spicy, it's just gonna cool things down. So I've got a cucumber here that I've just shredded up, and I'm gonna add that shredded cucumber on into a bowl. Now, if you wanted to, you could squeeze out this cucumber, make it a little less liquidy, but to be honest, I like a saucy sauce, so I'm gonna leave that liquid in there. Now, I've got some plain yogurt here. You wanna make sure it's plain and not a flavor, and I actually like to use just regular yogurt, not Greek yogurt, because that's traditionally what you should be using. So I'm gonna add that right on in, just a little bit. This is a non-recipe recipe. I did not write it down. This is a vibe recipe, so you gotta be watching here and now. Audience, you're getting a sneak peek. Give that a little bit of a stir up. And then you wanna season that with some salt. Yogurt and cucumber goes so beautifully with a good amount of salt in there. Now, for a little bit of brightness, I'm gonna toss in a tiny bit of lemon juice, just a smidge, just to give you a little bit of delish. And then finally, I love a little bit of mint. So I've got some fresh mint here that I'm just gonna kind of pinch off the top, if I can. There you go. Give that a little bit of a rough chop and pop that in there as well. You can do as much or as little mint as you want. If you are growing mint, you know this stuff grows like a weed. So honestly, this is a great way to use up a good amount. Pop that on in. And you have got a delicious fresh sauce that is perfect to cool anything down. Even this out on like a crudité platter, what a delight. All right, that's looking beautiful. Now I'm gonna go check on that delicious coconut butter chicken. So we've got that over here. It's simmering away. Gonna pop the heat off and take a gander. Oh yeah, that looks delish. It's thick, it's creamy, it is delicious. Gonna give that a little bit of a stir. You can see those little cashew bits in there. If you wanted to, you could blitz this in a higher power blender, get it perfectly smooth, but I like a little bit of texture. It smells amazing. I'm gonna just finish that off with a little bit of lemon juice, and this is where you get to kind of deal with what you're thinking for the flavors. If you think it needs a little bit of some salt, feel free to add that in, maybe a titch more of that sugar, which sounds strange, but honestly, it gives really good balance into the dish. So add that in, give that a stir. I'm gonna add a bit more salt because I know me, let's be honest here. All right. And then to serve this, just bring it on over. I have got that beautiful raita. On the side, you could do some delicious basmati rice. You could also just buy store-bought naan. It's kind of near the pita bread and you are good to go. Just pop that down onto a plate with that beautiful chicken. And then on top, we are a cilantro family, right? I'm asking the wings. We are a cilantro family. You'll find out who I was asking in just a second. And I'm gonna toss on just a little bit of that fresh cilantro all over top, just for a little bit of bright green flavor. Now, speaking of family, as we are a cilantro family, we're a spice family, and we are an Indian food family, I thought it'd be fun to bring out my big brother, Michael, to give it a taste.
Okay.
Yeah, doing pretty okay?
Yeah, happy to be here.
Nice. This is your first time at the show.
Yeah.
What's the deal?
I don't have a good answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're a busy man.
Yeah.
Do you remember that place that we always went to get Indian
Pickering
food?
Village.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It was so good.
Just unadorned presentation.
Yes.
It was not fancy or anything,
No.
but flavor.
The flavor was amazing. Every time you got the takeout too, we bought enough for an army, and it would be served in like you would pick it up in like a box that you got at like Costco. It was huge. We bought bulk Indian food essentially.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
I walked away with lots of regret.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was worth it. It was worth it.
Very good. All right, you want to give this a taste?
Yeah.
Do you want some of that raita on top too?
Of course. Come on.
Okay,
I could
cool.
smell the mint from over there in the wings. It was fantastic.
Not too shy. Oh yeah, that creaminess. Okay.
Thanks for spooning me. You know that I'm a
I know
spoon man.
we're also a spoon. Man.
Fantastic. Yep. Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
Let's see how this.
Okay. Pretty good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
That's amazing.
Hey, thank you, man. Good job. Oh no, spoon man.
Hey, I tried to do that.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.